At the first part, we try to answer question why Corporate Innovation Conference, why we as individuals, what do we have to do? Find the purpose, be aware of ourselves. Did a couple of exercises that were amazing for some people, for someone were kind of strange and funny, but let's continue. What we'll try to do in our next sessions is to answer questions what and how. Speaking with the practitioners, actually doing something which you're trying to do more or less successfully. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce you to my dear colleague, Sandra Nešić, who is the program director of ICT Hub. Sandra, please join us.
Thank you, Costa. Hello, everyone. Welcome on behalf of the entire ICT Hub team. I'm thrilled to see so many both familiar and new faces to this conference and people who are taking the time to think about the future of their businesses and focus on innovation and on just near-term revenue drivers. First of all, if you're worrying about what the future for your business holds, you're not alone. All over the world, board members estimated 32% of their company's revenue will be under threat from digital disruptors in the next 5 years. And 60% of them said that they should spend more time focusing on this issue. And here is why, as leaders, you should try to do the same thing. Among the latest research among innovators and those who are very good at innovation, so-called innovation role models, one of the critical enablers for success when it comes to innovation and successful business future is about leadership support. And 81.5% of the respondents said that it's all about leadership support compared to less than 26% of them who says is about having correct technology or infrastructure. And once again, I would like to thank you for taking your time to be here and to take this, I think, great step for everything the future holds for you. So we are aware of the fact that the old way of doing business is slowly dying. And our businesses are constantly under risk of being disrupted for several reasons. Philip talked about the speed, and we answered the questions about our cell phones and how much we had them. I'm going to focus on another indicator. First of all, one of the major things that is really important for our businesses is to realize that speed of business has changed a lot. It might not seem to us that it's that way, but it's actually very accelerated, and it went basically from linear to exponential. The indicator that I love, and it can show through multiple examples how much things are actually moving faster today in business environment, is to look at for how long it took for a company to reach its first 50 million users. So when we go back to 90s, it took internet 7 years to do that. Fast forward to 2011, it took WeChat 1 year to reach first 50 million users. And then in 2016, mid of 16, it took only 19 days for Pokemon Go to do the same thing. And if we talk now about business model innovation, we've seen a lot, and we can only imagine where will Amazon or Facebook, or by the last couple of months, Uber will be and what they will do. But if we just look at the mentioned WeChat, it's already one super app that touches everything we want to conquer and finish in our personal and professional life, from communication to entertainment, to shopping, business, everything related. And that is very, very important to recognize and see that is there. Philip touched upon some of the technologies. I'm not talk about them that much or at all. And standalone, they are maybe not that disruptive. but within the digital world, at the speed that been accelerated and everything else, they can come and become very, very profoundly dangerous and disruptive. When we focus on our companies, there's a whole different story when it comes to speed and the speed of clock. We all know the numbers that says that at the old way of doing business, we were very unsuccessful and at a lot of transformational initiatives, basically 70% of them failed. Philip also touched upon that our leaders are used to making decisions based on past experience, and now they don't have this experience of this new digital disruptive world. And on the other side, there is organizational inertia. We tend to reward activities that deliver results today over the activities that help us deliver and develop capabilities that will deliver results for the future. So we can say that the biggest enemy of our future success is actually today's success. And a lot of economists and management theorists and leaders say that and conclude that the new competitive advantage for companies in the future will be about the speed and the efficiency to provide organizational change and to be very adaptive. So if you go there as that very new competitive advantage, it becomes even more critical to answer questions such as, are we investing in the right things at the right time to provide the growth for our future? So how to go about that new future? A lot of you maybe will not agree with what I'm about to say, but building new business models is not rocket science. It is possible to start today and succeed soon. 5 years ago, research concluded that basically 90% of business model innovation comes from recombination of what is already in the market. So it is needed for us actually to go outside of our boxes, of our companies and industries, understand what is out there, try to reconfigure and try to translate into our companies what we can learn and implement and first of all test before we roll it out. And to succeed in that new future for us, it is very important to try to change the traditional mindset and the way we are doing things. And we can try to achieve that by being brave, smart, and open. And when we say brave, it is about going outside of that box and trying to see what is out there different and bringing to your company. And it's about also thinking about ambitious building business models and how to build them. Philip, again, mentioned those 3 horizons of innovation, and on average, we invest 70, 20, 10% over horizon 1, 2, 3. Today, innovation leaders and role models are actually doing something great. They invest 50 at horizon 1 and the rest of 50 on horizon 2 or 3, which is more adjacent and transformative for the company, and that's great and very encouraging to hear. We also need to be smart in this new age. We need to learn, of course, but most importantly, we have to unlearn what we already know and what it's not working in this world, and learn things and new ways that are relevant. And when I touch upon our next 2 speakers and what they're going to talk about, you can speed that process up by bringing something who has nothing to unlearn, because they're already native in this new world. And you can try to be open, or you need to be open, to see what kind of partnerships are out there, what kind of partners can help you create and deliver the value that are relevant to your customers. You need to be open to think about building something that it's not just within your company and build those disruptive business models with the company, but in a different playground. And this is where the story of corporate startups comes to the play. This is maybe the closest I wanted to, I found with what I wanted to say with building corporate startups, but it's actually about rejuvenating them with some of the unicornish thing we relate to startup world. But actually, for you, a very important thing to emphasize is to invite you to share your learnings, your thoughts, and your experiences and pictures from this event. And statistics said that we are actually uploading 1,000 photos in a second on Instagram, and yeah, what happens in Vegas does not stay in Vegas today. So please share, and especially after these next two guys that I'm about to introduce, because they're really doing great things, and they're really helping big corporations and big old dinosaurs to do something slightly different and do it in a different manner at the speed of a clock and a culture that it's needed for those new projects. And I'm using my cheat sheets especially before them because they really have impressive bios, and other very young did amazing and a lot of things in their past. So first I'm introduce Manu Volens. Manu today is actually new business designer. He's co-founder at Switchers. He's actually helping company to define new business opportunities, whether if it's a product, service, or a business model. And he helps corporates think like startups. He's a designer that's big business, loves to create and grow new business opportunities, even more when they challenge these big old dinosaurs. Over the years, he has worked for different startups, SMEs, and big corporations with opportunity scouting and product and service design, and helping them find new revenue models. He's going to share a lot about his experiences in building 10 different corporate startups with companies coming from very different industries. And right after Manu, we're having our second speaker. Afonso Rebelo de Sousa is our dear guest, frequent guest. He's actually a resident lecturer at Innovation Management Academy. Dear friend, most of you here probably know him already, but he's a senior corporate venture builder at Bundle, and he will explain as well how Bundle and his work are actually helping big corporations to create new business models and new companies. He's also business development lead at Airfinity. He has really impressive biography and a 16-year-old career in design, marketing, business strategy. He has worked years for companies as Adidas and LinkedIn, and now he's actually trying to combine all of that and help big companies create startups from within. So now I would like to invite Manu, and then after him, Afonso.
Manu, there was a question for you coming from the audience. It was about the process of the business design. Can you go a bit deeper in the phases?
Okay.
And how are you sure that you're on the right way?
You never are.
Never.
But I think, yeah, business design, as Frans also mentioned a little bit of all the different roles that got into it. I think it always starts with understanding for which company you're doing this and seeing what are the assets available. And as any design process, it's always fluffy and takes hard work, so doing the repeating, but trying to find new things. And I think analogy thinking, as what's not sure if Philip also was telling about it, is a really powerful thing, is to look to examples that work outside of the company and try to mix it with the things that you have. Giving again the example of the MyC games, which I did for Cartamundi. What was happening there with Amazon in long tail. So how could I apply these learnings into my context? Can can be a new technology that you say maybe totally out of your sector. So how can I bring it and mix it with all these corporate assets? And I think this fluffy process of mixing these two things, corporate assets and then new things, new innovations, that's a little bit what business design is. But of course, that can be a powerful idea, and then you have to put it into a business model or into a business case. So, but that often comes in the end into a beautiful Excel with a nice story to tell. But that's often something that comes to the end then.
Okay, thanks for that. Maybe for both of you, how do you recognize that a doer in a company, and what do you do when that person gets discouraged?
Maybe it's really it's not that easy to find a doer, but it's really easy to find the not doing people. And yeah,
and the doer gets discouraged. How do you re-engage him?
So, so how to find a doer first? I look for, you know, your averagely young talent. Averagely young means they've been with the business at least a year, so they know the company they're part of. They are of high value to HR, so we don't normally get people of this caliber here, but they're going to get bored. So that's the ideal candidate. You don't always find them, and there's other people available. How do you get someone to believe that they can be a constant doer is you need to have a conversation with HR and say, could this person become the CEO of this venture, or the CFO, or the CMO, or the director of marketing of this small venture? And you hand them that responsibility, saying, guys, if this goes well, this is yours. It's not us. We need to leave at the end of it, but it's yours. And if they agree to it, they will do. They will do.
Sandra, you had experience on working in corporate startup in Serbia, kind of talking also with the doers. So please free openly, as we do on the internal meetings, what was kind of the experience and how the market is mature right now?
Yeah, I was afraid I was going to get this question, what I think of certain things. Yeah, like we were fortunate enough really to have long-term relationships with certain clients, and we learned so much from them, as I'm sure they did from us, and we evolved over the years and explored different things and frameworks we used and everything. And now as I was listening to your experiences from the past and over previous years, I can say that we also did like bits and pieces with one company. Some things work, with other company different things is working, and of course it's always about who's the person in charge of all of this, who's the decision maker, how much the team is willingly in all of this, and sometimes how it's delegated to all of us. But I'm still like looking really to have a story like this, and a hopefully successful story as a park as well, for just on the market in general, and for us as working with some of our clients on certain ventures. But I can tell really the difference in innovation and how they're approaching innovation and around building something that is kind of a corporate startup, that it's there, that now even us and clients should be more systematic about this, make it into a repeatable process, and just that virus of what's going on in a startup translate to other people and other teams who don't have to necessarily be corporate startup, but just be inspired to do their job in maybe a different way, leaner, agile, more agile, or whatever. But it's been quite a journey in the past 4 years, really, to work on different kind of ventures of these things, and I can only imagine how much you really have fun with building something that is a startup within and for a large company.
It's fun. Corporate startup, just one of the tools. How can we make corporate innovation? What happens? So you're running a corporate startup, you pitch to the CEO, but there are other processes. We spoke about the idea challenge, about the maybe corporate VC, different structures. So is there any kind of competition? What's the governance then within the company? Who is managing all of those innovation projects?
It's funny, we actually, if you remember the slide of Manu that had the ship and the boats, We see that companies today, yes, they have a lot of different little boats, investments in startups, mergers and acquisitions. So, yes, corporate venturing is sometimes, or in many companies, still not on the focus, or has even been pitched yet. But we start to see that if your corporate venture idea is actually going the same path as one of your investments, you have more chances of success of getting that through. What I mean is, they're starting to create departments that not only incubate, but also that manage why are we doing all of these investments together. And those normally sit around mergers and acquisitions, corporate strategy departments, who are starting to understand, wait a minute, they're playing with drones over there and refrigerators over there. We should just play with this field. So I start seeing that.
And I think also what I showed in one of the slides is it's always important to understand what that corporate startup needs to bring back home. And revenue is only one thing, but changing the mindset of people, training them to be T-shaped so that they can do a lot of things instead of being a specialist can be one thing. And if that's the case, more HR related, then of course an M&A is less interesting and doing a corporate startup. If your goal is indeed to find to conquer the market more, or to diverse your portfolio with different products, then maybe an M&A is better. So it depends what you want to bring home, except of the revenue.
We'll have a lot of, and I see C-level join us for this session, especially. We'll have lots of questions. Okay, I want to try this. 50K, you said 3 months, we can survive it. Where do we get idea for the corporate startup? Can we kind of get it from the idea challenge from the employees? How do you get the idea? How do you run the process of getting the idea before you pitch to the board?
So we always come into companies when they've either said, we have ideas, don't know what to do with them, or we have no idea. All we've done is we created the conditions to find the idea and to nurture the idea and to turn it into a business. That's all we've done. But where do ideas come from into the company? Yes, there are ideation challenges. There are, for example, I worked for LinkedIn. The CEO would open his office every Friday, once a month, for 2 hours and say, who wants to pitch? Come in. So we start seeing that that is actually part of the innovation agenda. What else do we have of capturing ideas?
I think important because in the end, if you see to the whole process of the finding the right idea, that's not the difficult part. The difficult part is to get it and to launch it and to do it with the right team, with legal, with all this. So that's the really hard part. So to acknowledge that finding idea is the easy part, you could say, okay, we just hire an agency and we come with 5 ideas, fine. The crucial part is that ownership of the idea is also very important. And so you have to, a lot of people can have ideas within the company. So the company needs to own that idea, but also vice versa. The company can have ideas themselves, and we want to find these people who have passion for it and want to show it. And that first phase is quite interesting, but you can put the process into it, you can manage it, you can do it. And that's for me the interesting part is that the idea, finding the idea is the one that you can basically script with a lot of methodologies. But getting it into execution is more the fluffy part where I even don't know, always have the answer how to do it.
We recently had a kind of it was a new, at least Serbian scene, that one of actually Serbian-owned companies named IGO invested in a digital startup, which was a kind of, I think, a first-timer on our market. So directly to Sandra, kind of your sense of the market in past 3 years, corporate startups or maybe M&As, or what should be the kind of the, if you would like kind of some very traditional industry approach, kind of, and you did a good analysis and based on your previous work, do you see corporate startup as a kind of a?
I would more suggest corporate startups, but it depends on, as Manu said, what you want to achieve. Do you want something to be more transformative for you as a company and the culture? Do you want to have more smaller teams working that way and alone transform in that new kind of working and launching products and have that speed and pace, or you want to really achieve very quickly, very fast talent or product or market or technology or whatever you aim with usually acquisition. So it really depends. If you need like a quick fix with something that buys something, but if you want to be more transformative in your growth, your efforts to actually become more of a startup thinking corporation, then going for corporate startups and bringing them back very meaningfully, and the team for the company would be kind of.
Can I just add? I mean, it's part of the corporate startup's responsibility to optimize assets. Yeah. So, for example, in Serbia, you have a ton of call centers, and we heard this morning that repetitive jobs will be replaced. What are we going to do with this space? And that's where the corporate startup can optimize something where it could depreciate and you can lose money on. So it's part of our responsibility. We always do a due diligence of what are we using that the company already has, because that's how we beat time to market.
Yes, you could talk with Rizma. They're out there on the stand, so explain them how you can cooperate. And the last question is, and we do get those questions, as you call maybe at one point regular startups, corporate startups. What is kind of the relationship with them, and what the future holds? But kind of what is your insight in terms of competing of the market, bringing entrepreneurial talent to the corporate startups instead of classical ones? What is kind of your sense what will going on globally? We're seeing a lot of venture capital coming from corporate. So what is kind of the insight you can share with us?
Having worked in a pure startup, having helped create two and then working in one, and now building corporate startups, the difference is I call it carrot and stick. Yeah. So
we have that in Serbia.
You have that, a carrot and stick, right? So when you build a corporate startup, you're going to build it from what the customers say they want. You have that luxury, right? So you're actually building a carrot. When you're in a startup, all you have is a stick. It's like, and if you give me money, I can build it. So they don't have that much access to the validation that a company does. So already the way they go about building their companies is slightly different, not to mention that corporate startups have an office, a printer. I mean, when I worked at a startup, no one wanted to have lunch with me because I would be pitching. I just wanted to have some validation. But it was thrilling. So already they're constructed differently. There is, to me, a growth path for corporate startups. It won't be as big as startups. In regard to whether these will be joint ventures in the market, the corporate startups, or not, I don't have an insight. We've seen both, some which are the corporate wants to keep 50% and gives 50% to the market, and a VC may come in, or they keep it themselves. I don't have an insight on what might happen there. Do you?
No, but I can maybe speak for myself. And in the end, if I look to personally, how can I have the most impact? I do believe that working together with corporates improves my chances of success for impact. And that's why I believe for my personal self, with my skills and the things I also can do, working with corporates is a great way to do, which can be also really different for other entrepreneurs with other skill sets who can launch a separate product or by themselves. So I think creating impact will be a future driver to see where or not you're going to work with corporates in the future. Yeah.
Sandra, please, as ICT Hub, we did focus on corporate innovation, kind of connecting the let's say, the two worlds. What is your kind of feeling? You don't have to have exact data. I know you're academic.
Like globally, I'm sure corporate venture capital, everything is going that direction, that corporates are really doing a lot to stay relevant, and all means available and everything is in the game. There are statistics how successful they are or not, and what are the best practitioners are actually learning along the way. I think in Serbia, we're quick learners, and we are catching up really fast on what is out there. As I said, maybe we are not among each other sharing that much those good practices, and this is why conferences like this or any other, not just the things that we organize, but thank you for bringing Innovation Management Academy like 10 times in your talk. But those places where you can come together and share practices and maybe just wrap up on what was done well and what's not would even speed up the process for the local market. But I'm really impressed to see what companies are doing in terms of building structures, governance, different incubators, idea challenges within. A lot of things are actually happening. Sometimes it's still bits and pieces within a huge number of them, and sometimes under just one roof you have a really meaningful structure. So I'm looking forward to see more of those.
I think that setting expectations from the management, from the team leading it, and kind of governance, which you all mentioned, will be something which will be important insight for our community here. So thank you. Please, a round of applause for our dear guests. Thank you.